Tonight, alarm bells inside the Pentagon, and not about everything we just were talking about. This about, well, war and peace. New satellite images and documents signaling China is building a prototype nuclear reactor for a large surface warship. It's a concrete sign that Beijing is making strides toward producing its first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, a crucial development. It comes as Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin are closer now than ever, deepening their ties in hopes of forming a new world order that boxes out and diminishes the United States. Fred Pleiken is out front in Moscow.
Jet fighters streaking across the skies at China's largest air show, aiming to show just how fast the People's Republic is modernizing its massive military. China's main partner is Russia. The head of the Russian National Security Council, Sergei Shoigu, in Beijing, praising ever closer ties. We are not a military political alliance like the ones formed during the Cold War, he says. Relations between our countries are superior to those forms of interstate ties. This as China shows off its brand new stealth fighter, called the J-35A, for the first time ever, while the Russians were showcasing their own stealth jet, the Su-57, which has already been used in combat operations. Russia and China have dramatically expanded their military cooperation in recent years. With regular exercises like these major naval drills, the Russians say were the largest in more than 30 years. This, as Vladimir Putin says, he wants what he calls a new world order with less U.S. influence and more power in the hands of countries like Russia and China. Russian-Chinese cooperation in world affairs acts as one of the main stabilizing factors in the global arena, he said. And China's Xi Jinping added, in the face of the turbulent international situation and external environment, the two sides should continue to uphold the original aspiration of friendship for generations to come. All this as relations with the U.S. grow ever more adversarial. Washington concerned about Chinese territorial claims and military expansion in the South China Sea. President-elect Donald Trump vowing to rein Beijing in.
There are certain countries, I can tell you everyone, I can give you from top to bottom. China's the toughest of all, but we were taking care of China with the tariffs.
But the U.S. now also faces an emboldened North Korea. Kim Jong-un, heavily courted by Russian President Vladimir Putin, recently conducting another round of ballistic missile tests. The U.S. also believes more than 10,000 North Korean soldiers are currently fighting on Russia's side in its war against Ukraine. Russian political analyst Sergei Markov telling me the alliances forged by Vladimir Putin will be a major issue for the new administration.
All this coalition has a major goal to support each other in the only one thing, sovereignty. And because chariots of the sovereignty, first of all from United States and general with coalition, it moves them automatically as a little bit anti-American.
So as you can see there, Aaron, some pretty big challenges coming for the new incoming administration and, of course, also the incoming Secretary of Defense, as the Russians have made absolutely clear that their relations with both China and North Korea are only going in one direction, towards closer economic and military ties. Aaron?
All right. Thank you very much. And, of course, that incoming Secretary of Defense nominee we now know, Pete Hegseth, former veteran, of course, and also host for Fox News. Now, thank you so much, Fred Pleiken. Thanks for joining us. The Source starts now.
This is CNN Breaking News.
And I'm Caitlin Collins, live from West Palm Beach tonight, where we have just gotten a burst of breaking news out of Mar-a-Lago as President-elect Donald Trump has announced his major picks for big cabinet positions, including Army veteran and Fox News television host Pete Hegseth as the next Secretary of Defense. Hegseth is someone who served overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan and earned 2 Bronze Stars. Though what some of my sources are noting tonight, when asked about this pick right off the bat, he has no prior government experience. He's now been chosen to head one of the most sprawling and critical positions in the federal government. Hegseth is someone you may remember as an outspoken voice who was initially noticed by Trump, according to my sources, years ago when he was on Fox News.
We're not going to let the left come over, control, and destroy our country. These charges were crafted to completely disable Trump. That's exactly why all of these indictments are happening now. Make Trump look like a criminal. Then next year in 2024, trap the leading Republican in court.
When I was reporting for Fox and Friends yesterday morning on the ground, I said a couple of times, this feels like a constitutional tinderbox. Mail-in ballots, ballot harvesting, going past the constitutional prerogatives of state legislatures, that option has been taken from them too. And so what do folks expect to happen? This is the result of a frustration that a lot of people feel that I frankly wasn't surprised.
A lot more on that pick in a moment, including early reaction that we are hearing tonight from Republican senators on Hegseth's pick. Also, just a short time ago, Trump revealed the roles for two of his biggest supporters, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, saying that they are going to lead an outside of government initiative that Trump is calling the Department of Government Efficiency. The pair that you see here has now been tasked with slashing regulations and restructuring government agencies. But I should note there are still a lot of questions this hour over how that's going to work, as they will not be government employees based on what we have heard and what this sounds like. And it won't actually be a government agency, which is something that would require congressional approval. All of this is coming, though, after Trump said earlier he had picked former congressman and the director of national intelligence, John Ratcliffe, as the next CIA director. I also have new reporting tonight about one position that has been at the forefront of Trump's choices that remains unsolved tonight, that we have not gotten any announcements about, and that's the job of Attorney General. Now, Trump has thought about who he would install at the Department of Justice if he won re-election for months. But now, after he has met with several candidates at his Palm Beach club, the incoming president, I am told, is still wrestling with his decision about who to put in that job. Trump has solicited the opinions of those in his inner circle at Mar-a-Lago. He's been making phone calls, I'm told, on the matter. He even met with at least one candidate today. But Trump has yet to come to a decision, mainly because he has not encountered anyone that he feels checks all the boxes that he's looking for. A source told me earlier, really, right now, Trump has no favorites. Of course, he was most irritated with his two that he picked the last time he was in office, and that's why he's putting so much emphasis on this choice tonight. My inside source tonight is Trump's longest-serving national security advisor, who also served as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations before that. John Bolton joins me now. And Ambassador, it's great to have you here. We are just getting this Pete Hegseth announcement. What is your initial reaction for him in the role as the next Secretary of the Department of Defense?
Well, several quick points. I do think this is a loyalty choice, or really the better word we should be using is fealty choice, that Trump feels perfectly comfortable that Pete Hegseth will do what he asks him to do. And that puts into spotlight why, along with the Attorney General, the Secretary of Defense position will be one of the most critical in a Trump administration. What will Pete Hegseth do the first time Trump tells him to put the 82nd Airborne onto the streets of Portland, Oregon? Now, what I hope Pete Hegseth does overall is get a massive increase in the Defense Department budget, which we need in a challenging world. And if they can cut the domestic spending even more so that we don't increase the deficit, that would be important too. But I think history will judge a Hegseth secretaryship on how much he gets the defense budget up. And with Donald Trump, you never can tell.
Well, and when I was thinking about this tonight, Pete Hegseth has 2 Bronze Stars. He is a veteran who served in the Middle East. But he also most recently, what his job has been is to be on Fox News on the weekends. And, Trump hired you after he saw you on television. I wonder how much you think that had to play in the role of someone who was this veteran turned Fox News anchor.
No, I'm sure that was a piece of it. It's just a question when Trump watches people on television, what is he listening to, or what is he paying attention to? I think Pete has an admirable, really a super record for his time in the military, and give him a chance up to the point when Trump starts ordering the military to do illegal, immoral, unconstitutional things. That's where the real test of Pete Hegseth's character will come.
Given the fact, looking at DOD, for people who don't know, it is the biggest federal agency. It has a massive billions of dollar budget, obviously a ton of employees. For someone who doesn't have government experience, if he gets confirmed, I mean, what is that going to be like? Do you think he's qualified for this role?
Well, I'm not sure anybody's qualified to be Secretary of Defense in the sense it's so big that look at Rex Tillerson, the CEO of Exxon, pretty big place, came to work for Trump. That didn't work out very well. So there's no guarantee. Now, the way to complement a Hegseth nomination is to do what Richard Nixon did in 1969. He named Mel Laird Secretary of Defense and David Packard of the Hewlett-Packard Corporation as Deputy Secretary. So if you get somebody from the defense industry who knows how to help fix the Department of Defense, and a lot of reforms certainly could be made in the procurement area, if nothing else, that would actually help save money that could then be plowed back into better defense programs. Whether that's what's going to happen, obviously, we don't know. And it highlights one point. For all these cabinet nominations, obviously, they're the heads of their departments, but it's going to be very important who the deputies and undersecretaries are. We're still a long way, I think, from knowing that.
Yeah, that's a really good point on that. And on DOD itself, I mean, this announcement is coming after we had heard some reporting earlier today from the Wall Street Journal about this draft executive order that had been presented to the Trump team. It would basically create a board that would purge 3- and 4-star generals. If that happens and therefore circumvents the normal promotion process that is in place at the Pentagon, do you worry that would create a chilling effect on top brass?
Well, I think it's a very real risk to politicizing the military, and it's been a fundamental precept from the beginning of the Republic, really, that the military is not subject to political influence. Now, there's a lot of criticism of what the Biden administration has done. It's certainly within the Trump administration's power to get rid of the woke programs and that sort of thing. But I don't think purging generals is the way to do it. I think you do it by taking control of the department and getting rid of the approaches that you don't like. That's true in any government department. I don't think challenging the non-political status of the military is a good look or a good way for the administration to start.
Well, let me get your thoughts on another key pick today, which is who's going to be the next CIA director. Trump has picked John Ratcliffe. He is a former congressman. For those who don't know, he served as the director of national intelligence when Trump was in office the last time. You had your own personal clashes with him. What do you make of his selection to this role?
Well, I think he is purely a loyalty pick, and I don't expect him to have really much of an impact other than carrying out Trump's orders. I worry that Trump is he doesn't understand the intelligence community even after 4 years as president, and I'm worried that his picks in the intelligence community could do a lot of damage, inducing other countries not to share information with us. It's a very serious problem.
I keep hearing from you, loyalty, or as you put it, fealty. I mean, as someone who's served in a Trump administration, what does it mean if Trump's world would see it as people who don't circumvent him or don't block him from doing what he wants to do? But from your perspective, what does that mean if it is a bunch of loyalists that are heading these agencies and running them?
Well, it's not a question of blocking him. I mean, I think there were people in his first year in office who made a point of saying they were stealing documents off his desk. I don't know if they did or not. I certainly never did that. It's not blocking a president when you say, Mr. President, have you thought of the following ramifications, A, B, C, D, E, F, G? If you do that, have you considered the consequences? Have you looked at these other alternatives? That is serving the president. That's what his senior advisors should do. What Trump wants, I think, are yes men and yes women who don't give him the knowledge, the information, and the range of potential decisions that he could make. They listen to what he says and they say, yes, sir, and away they go to implement it. That is going to hurt Trump fairly quickly, and it's going to hurt the country, too.
Yeah, I mean, these are also critical decisions that affect people, because, there was a bit of an uproar today here in Palm Beach after I reported last night that South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem had been Trump's pick for the Department of Homeland Security, which obviously a massive agency that doesn't just handle immigration. It's got Secret Service, FEMA, the Coast Guard, cybersecurity, counterterrorism, all of that is going to be under her purview if she's confirmed. And obviously, you know, if a massive hurricane hits Florida and she's in charge of kind of directing that effort by overseeing FEMA, do you think that is a good fit for that position?
Well, I think that's another fealty appointment. And, you know, she's going to get on-the-job training of running one of the most important departments in the government. But let's face it, for Donald Trump, the only thing he cares about at Homeland Security is illegal immigration. And I think Kristi Noem will be taking orders from Stephen Miller and Tom Homan at the White House. And her job will be expressly to say, yes, sir, to the two of them.
Ambassador John Bolton, a lot of breaking news on those picks tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And up next, more on my new reporting on why one of the announcements we have not heard yet is who Trump wants to be the Attorney General. It's one of the most important decisions. We also have brand new reporting on RFK Jr. and what job he may get. And speaking of Elon Musk, he is now openly advocating for Donald Trump's daughter-in-law and the RNC co-chair Lara Trump to be a U.S. senator. We'll tell you which state ahead.